Hey everyone, Dan here. We're doing Power Hour on Monday, June 14th. Today we're going to do an update on SoFi. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a lot. And feel free to comment below with your thoughts, your questions, tickers you'd like me to take a look at, any of those things. I've been looking at them nightly, though it may take me a couple of days to reply because I tend to get pretty far behind. Alright, so let's jump right in. SoFi has been caught in this downturn ever since it made this attempt at support at 2506 and has just been tumbling basically day by day ever since. I mean, there was this green day here, but for all intents and purposes, continuing in this, what's effectively, I'm only going to keep this on the screen for a second, but what is effectively like this down channel right here. That it kind of got into in the afternoon on the 10th and then was stuck in on Friday and then tried to break out of this morning. It's continued down and is now sort of mid-range, during power hour at the moment. So a little bit of an unfortunate situation. And let's sort of talk through, a bit of what's going on. So, the only well, I don't want to say the only like it's hopeless, but one of the small bright sides to this whole thing is this chart is holding up relatively well. We keep hitting these zones for support, turning them to resistance, support, turning them to resistance, and now we're stuck under 2201 resistance. Kind of staring down the barrel at that 2121 support zone that we should see. But the question is, will that give a big enough bounce in order to trigger a trend reversal? As right now we're clearly in a short-term downtrend. You see here price action underneath all of the MAs, including the 200, which is the one that I use to gauge whether we are in an uptrend or a downtrend. And so, yeah, definitely on the downside of that at the moment. So the next zones, I guess the two immediate zones that I'm going to be looking at is 2121 for support if it's needed, or 2201 to gain support there, and then try to make a push up. But yeah, it's definitely been a challenging one. For full disclosure, I had mentioned this in my video on Friday that, I was looking to roll out some call options that I had because I think this is just going to need more time, and I'll talk in a second why I think it's going to need more time to play out. But I do think that there's still a play here. But what I did so far is I closed out a couple of my call positions and with the intention of purchasing something to roll it out to a further date, but I didn't do it immediately because it looked to me like we might be pushing lower today, and that has happened. So what I'm waiting to do is buy back in and sort of take a longer dated call position. Those are set to expire, I think July 16th, I think is the mid-July date. And so I think this is going to take more time to play out than that, which is fine. I just want to have a longer dated option then. So looking for it to either find support at that 2121 or assess it at that point and figure out what's going on. That said, the couple of call option positions that I closed out weren't all of my positions. I have other positions in SoFi as well that I have kept. Some are much more profitable than others because of when I had started them. As you know, we were talking about SoFi way back in the low teens, and the potential for squeeze at that point, ahead of the pre-merger hype and all that stuff. So, but yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way so folks are aware of, what I'm doing with the information that I'm seeing. And again, that's not for anyone to copy it. It's just to say, like, here's the info I'm seeing, here's what I'm saying to you guys, and then, here's what I'm doing with my own information. But obviously, you may be much smarter than me, so you should do your own due diligence and figure out what's going to work best for yourself. So yeah, I mean, from a trend perspective, that is basically what I'm looking for. Can we get support at that 2121 and bounce off of there? Do we even need it? Can we just make a run right now for 2201 and get support there, and then work our way through the 22s and try to get back up to this 2361 zone? Obviously, that's much more what I would like to see happen. So I'm looking to basically take a call option by buying into price strength. So if we see that tomorrow and maybe it comes up and tries to gun it for the 2236 but pulls back a little bit, then I'll try to take a position as it shows some price strength as it comes down to that 2201, because I would assume that there should be some good bounce support there. If there's not and it falls through, then I wouldn't take the position at that point. So on the, I guess, short side of things, just to kind of give you an update where we are today. So this is updated through 3 o'clock, beginning of power hour. But if we look here, 614, just very low availability of shares to short. I think, and here's why I think this is going to take a lot longer to play out. Because of the merger and because all of the additional shares that became available in the float as a product of the merger happening, I think we need time for all of those shorts to get themselves repositioned again, get themselves into the market. And as that's happening, I think we're seeing this big pull downward as we're getting this sort of artificial supply being thrown into the market as shares are being loaned out and then sold. That's, to me, what's driving this price down so significantly, is us needing that greater supply of shares made available by the merger completing to work itself into the marketplace. Certainly, also there's always the threats that the pipe folks or other holders will begin to sell out their positions. That may be about double what they were when they first were granted them, or something like that, which is reasonable. But we may see some selling pressure come in from there too. But I think that it just needs some more time to sort itself out with regard to that. So as those additional shorts flood into the marketplace and the price comes down, what I'm going to be looking for is for this fee to stay high, and luckily the fee has continued to stay high, so that keeps some pressure on. But because the price has been falling so much, there's not additional price pressure being put on, so they're still obviously flipping over very profitable positions, even with the fee being so high. And so as we get sort of some price strength coming back in, as this available shares stays very low, I'm going to guess that SoFi is going to reemerge on one of those most shorted stocks lists, because as we know, with the switchover, it got knocked off of the list. It was less than 20% of the float being shorted. Don't know exactly what the number is yet, because the data takes so much time to roll over from IPOE to SoFi, unfortunately. But my guess is it was still very close to 20, and that's we're going to be on the next list the next time that comes out, which should be here in just maybe a week, 10 days, something like that. And so I think it'll be one of the most heavily shorted stocks again. So, and we see that further evidenced here with this short volume ratio in the 30s day over day recently, still within this time frame for this chart. Mid 30s, which is a nutty number. I always say in the 30s is a crazy amount of short volume ratio. I mean, mid 30s, it's like, come on, this is just bananas. But again, this is assisted by all of the available shares. I guess all the shares were made available when the merger happened. So I think that that's sort of like what is extending timelines here for me. I still think there's a play to be had there, because I think that it's going to be, like I just said 1,000 times 90 seconds ago, I think there's going to be a ton of shorts that we will see. We'll be able to see the data and we'll say, okay, so we're back up to 28% short interest again in SoFi, even with all of the new shares in the float. So I think that that's what's going to happen. So I think there is still the potential here. I think a lot of folks are still excited about SoFi. So I think there's opportunity for it to run up. What I should have said probably 5 minutes ago is what's most needed at this point, in my opinion, is volume. It's just not getting, SoFi isn't really getting much attention or hype, or it's just not getting the volume that other stocks are seeing. AMC, obviously, GameStop, obviously, but even like Workhorse, or Wish, or some of these other ones that folks are looking to try to squeeze, all very valid plays, but in terms of like that, the fact that they are heavily shorted, but I think without volume coming in and SoFi shoring up its price and showing some strength by way of big uptick in volume, I think it's going to be very, very hard to flip around all of the additional shorts that are flooding the market at this point. And it's just sort of like basically under chronic attack at the moment. But I think that that'll also sort of have to subside to some degree because the available shares to borrow is already very, very low. And it was millions and millions when the merger first happened. Or when the merger finally happened. So a lot of them have been cycling through already, but the availability is staying very low. So mostly those shorts are staying in, even if they close out and then retake that position again. But yep, that's what I'm looking at. Hopefully that makes sense. But like I said, feel free to comment below if you disagree or if you have questions or if you have your own thoughts that you want folks to see as they swing by and watch the video. Well, good luck this week. I hope it's a profitable one, and I will see you in the next video.